Growing up, I used to have a huge sweet tooth, guys. Like when I say sweet tooth, I mean I love cakes, I love cookies, I love ice cream, I love everything sugar. But then as I got older, I started to notice that my energy levels were crashing and I was getting sick more often. Like no week would pass without me landing in the hospital. That's when I discovered the culprit: white sugar, refined sugar. I was consuming way too much of it and it was wreaking havoc on my body. So I decided to make a change. I started researching on the natural alternatives to sugar, and that was when I stumbled upon dates. Guys, dates are nature's candy. They are sweet, nutritious, and can be used in a variety of dishes. And the best part of it is that they are low on glycemic index, which means that they won't cause a spike in your blood sugar levels. So if you're like me and you want to dish refined sugar for good, then this video is for you. Today I'll be showing you how to make two amazing products from dates: date syrup and date paste. These two ingredients will change your kitchen and provide you with a healthier alternative to refined sugars. So let's get started. Hey beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, consider subscribing for more recipe videos and cooking tips, parenting tips, and everything about getting a healthy and a chubby baby. Today we are going to make two delicious products from dates: date syrup and date paste. These two ingredients are perfect for baking, cooking, and even to be used as a natural sweeteners for your coffee, tea, pap, porridges, and all of your baby food. So, what are we waiting for? Let's get to work. To make the date syrup and the date paste, we'll be needing the base ingredient, which is dates, and here I have 1 pinta of dates. And so we'll be splitting it into two equal parts because we're not going to be using all of the dates for either of the syrup or the paste. So we have to split it equally so that we can use one for the syrup and the other one for the paste. It may interest you to know that dates are liquid gold now, like they are very expensive. People have got to know the health benefits of this date and they are trying to eat healthy by inculcating it into their daily meals. I think that is the reason why the prices of the dates are now on the high side, but nevertheless we will still eat healthy. So I have successfully divided the date into two equal parts. You want to proceed to wash the date. Add a clean room temperature water into it and then make sure it covers it to the brim. Then go ahead and add half tablespoon of salt into the dates. This will help to make sure that the dates are clean and free from any bacteria. Proceed to wash the date with your hands by rubbing it gently until you begin to see discoloration in the water. Trust me when I tell you that dates are very dirty. A lot of us may see it in the market like it's very neat, but let me shock you, dates are actually dirty. So I had to transfer it from the bowl I was using before to another bowl because I found out that the other bowl was so small for me and didn't give me the space I needed to wash it very well. So ensure to wash your date until the first water becomes discolored. Then you can discard it. For the first wash, you have to do the washing for 2 minutes. This is to ensure that all the sands and the dirt goes off. There are a lot of sands on dates, and because you're making it for your family and your babies especially, you wouldn't want to get a taste of sand in the date. Now discard the water and then go in with another water for the second wash. Now repeat this process the same way you wash the first one is how you're gonna wash the second one, but this time around you can see that the water is becoming clearer. All right, so you're just going to do the wash for 1 minute. The water is becoming clearer, better than the first one, so washing for 1 minute is fine. You don't need to add salt on the second wash because the first one you added salt is sufficient. Now discard the second water and go in with another water into the date. This time around you can see that our date is crystal clear. You can see the water really clear. So this is when you will now know that yes, your date is ready to be used for either of date syrup or date paste. So after the last wash, discard the water and drain it very well. Proceed to pit the date, or like we all call it, open the date. You can do this by using your kitchen knife or whatever hard metal you know that can be able to open this. So go ahead to slide it open and remove the seeds inside, and you're going to be doing it for all of the dates that are in the bowl. So you can see the date seed. You open all of them and remove the dates before you make any of date syrup or date paste. So I'm doing this with my kitchen knife and it is going smoothly. If you're enjoying this video so far, I am so happy. It means you're clearly loving this content and I'm loving having you here as well. To get more awesome videos like this, kindly subscribe to my channel. It is completely free. Hit that notification bell, share with friends, and leave a comment below to let me know what you think. Your support means everything to me and I'm grateful for your loyalty. Thank you, and thank you so much for watching, and let's keep going. Now that we are done pitting the date, the next thing is to set a pot on fire. Then transfer the pitted date into the clean pot and go in with enough water that would cover the date and cook the date. You would need to use a spatula or a spoon to spread out the dates so that they are evenly distributed in the pot. Then you can now pour in your water. Make sure that the water is clean, because you're not going to be disposing this water. So make sure you are using a clean room temperature water. If possible, use a bottled water. Cover the pot and cook on medium heat for 30 minutes. At interval, check on the date to ensure that there is still more water cooking the date to prevent it from burning. Now, in making this date syrup, there are two methods which you can use. You can either soak the dates for 24 hours, that is overnight, and proceed to cook it the next day. That way, it will make the date easier and faster to cook. Or you can go ahead and cook it after pitting the date. I prefer to cook mine immediately after removing the seeds, right? But you can soak it for 24 hours before cooking. Whichever way you prefer works better. After 30 minutes, our date is finally cooked and has softened to the desired texture. Remove it from the fire and set it down. You want to use a masher to mash up the dates to ensure that they are well pureed. If you don't have a masher, you can use a spatula to press it very well. You can also use a big spoon. Some persons even use mortar to pound. Whichever way, whichever thing that will help you to get it pureed is what you need. So I'm using a masher to puree it further after cooking it to make sure that all the juice will be extracted from the dates. You want to get a clean pot or bowl. Then place a strainer on top of the pot. Then also go ahead and place your mesh cloths or your muslin cloths on top of the strainer. This will help to prevent any solid from going into the syrup. Then go ahead and pour the syrup into the mesh cloth bit by bit. Be very careful when doing this so as not to get yourself burnt, because dates can be very hot when it is taken down from the fire. You can also pour the dates directly into the mesh cloth without the strainer. The goal is to get the juice out of the date. So whether you have a mesh or you don't have a sieve, you have a muslin cloth and you don't have a sieve, or you have a sieve and you don't have a muslin cloth, the only thing you need to do is to get the juice out of the date. Squeeze the date in the muslin cloth very well to squeeze out the juice. Honestly, this was very hot, like I couldn't even hold it. In a case like this, all you need to do is to dip your hand in cold water before pressing, and you have to do this at different intervals. This can be very hot, trust me. So but when you dip your hand in cold water, it reduces the hotness and it wouldn't make you feel it much. On the other hand, you can let it cool down a little bit, right? Or you dip your hand in cold water as you squeeze. You will need to transfer the pulp into the pot, then go ahead and mash it up again for the second time. Now, the reason why we are doing this is to ensure that all the dates are properly mashed or pureed. We won't want to leave anything unturned. We won't want to leave any stone unturned. That is why we are going in the second time. So if you're using spatula or mortar or spoon or whatever you're using to mash it, this is the right time to do it the second time. Go ahead and still add more water to the pulp, mash it up again, and transfer it into your sieve. Once again, transfer it into the muslin cloth, squeeze it harder to extract all the juice, and then tie it up and place it on the sieve to further extract any juice that is remaining in the pulp. You have to leave it there for about 2 minutes to completely drain the juice. After the juice has been completely drained off, this is what we have. You would know that your pulp is completely drained if it forms a cycle like this. It means that there is no more juice in it. You can add this to your date paste when making. You can also dry it and use it for your baking. You can use it in making your baby's Tom Brown. You can add it to your baby's pap when making. You can also use it in making zobo, tiger nut drink. In fact, there is still a lot of sweetness in this, so you don't need to dispose it. This is what the juice that was extracted from the dates looks like, and you can get more than this quantity if you are making more than the quantity that I made. So all we need to do now is to transfer this juice straight into a clean pot, set it on fire, and cook on a low to medium heat for 45 minutes to 60 minutes depending on your heat, but it should be done by 60 minutes highest. Cover the pot and begin to cook. Remember to stir at intervals to prevent burning. From time to time, check on the date syrup and give it a quick stir to ensure that it is not burning. It is very easy for date syrup to burn, so that is why you have to stir it occasionally. You can see that the date syrup is beginning to dry up and thicken. That's a good one. So I had to transfer the date syrup from the pot I was cooking it initially to another pot. This is because date syrup is a very strong syrup and it has the tendency to stain anything it comes in contact with. So I had to use another pot to do the finishing. Now you can see that our date syrup has finally thickened up. One thing with date is that it has a tendency to thicken up more when it gets to a cold environment. So try not to overcook your date syrup or else you will find it difficult to scoop out from the pot. So this is the more reason why you shouldn't allow it to be too thick in the pot while cooking it. Now we need to allow the date syrup to cool down a little bit, and voila, our one and only yummy date syrup is ready. You can see how good looking it is already. Kindly transfer it into a cup or a jar, whatever you are using to store your dates, and your date syrup is ready to be consumed by your baby, by you, by all the family members. Now this date syrup can last for as long as 4 to 6 months. Just make sure that it doesn't come in contact with moisture, and the spoon or whatever you're using to scoop it doesn't come in contact with moisture. Now, one disadvantage of this date syrup is that it tends to stain anything it comes in contact with. Any container you put it inside, it has a tendency to stain it. So if you don't have a problem with putting it in a cup, do well to put it in a jar and refrigerate it and use for whatsoever you want to use it for. It is suitable for babies from 4 months or as soon as you have introduced solid to your baby. So if you started solid for your baby at 4 months, please do well to use it. If you started at 6 months, also do well to use it. Feel free to add this date syrup to whatever food you're feeding your baby, be it pap, Tom Brown, porridge, puree or cereal. It is perfect. Now that we have our date syrup, let's move on to making our date paste. This date paste is perfect for adding to all baby food. You can also use it in your smoothie, for baking, for cooking, and whatever you want to use it for. You want to pit the dates carefully to remove all the date seed. Unlike on the other one we use for date syrup where we need to wash, this one we need to remove the date seed first before washing. So I already done this off the camera, and now the dates are all fully pitted. You want to go in with a boil of water into the pitted date. Try to ensure that the water which you're using to wash the dates are clean water. Next is to go in with half a tablespoon of salt, gently wash the dates to remove all dirt and impurities, and you have to do this by simply running your hands over the dates in a mild manner, and as you're doing it you'll be washing the dirt off. You need to do this for like 1 minute, and after the first wash it is now time to discard the water and go in with another water. So use a sieve to discard the water you used for the first one. Place the bowl down again and go in with another clean water. Carefully run your hand through the water again. This time around you're bringing it down to 30 seconds. So run your hands through the dates to remove all sand and dirt. You're gonna be doing this washing for a couple of 3 times, and when you are done you discard the water finally. Then boil a cup of water. That will be enough to cover the date, and when it is fully boiled, pour it into the date and make sure that the water covers the dates. Once this is done, you need to cover the bowl and then set it aside in the refrigerator or on the countertop for 6 hours. 6 hours later, this is what our date has become. You can see that the date has soaked up almost all the liquid and they are now looking softer. Check to see that the dates are now fully soft by pressing on it with your hand, and if they dissolve so easily it means that the dates are now soft. So you can see that this one dissolved without any issues. Then we're going to go ahead and scoop out the dates from the water, all of them, and transfer them into another plate. The reason why we are doing this is to ensure that the water we're going to be using to blend the dates are not too much. So we need to regulate the water so as not to make the paste to be runny. So that is the reason why you have to remove the dates from the water, and then we'll be adding the water bit by bit until we get the right consistency. So this is the water that we extracted the date from, so we're going to set it aside. In a blender, transfer all of the dates into it. If you don't have a blender, you may need to use a masher or a mortar to pound, but then you have to really pound it for a long time so as to get a smooth paste. On the other hand, if you don't want to go through this rigorous process, you can take it to a mill, a public mill, and get it milled there. But ensure that the milling machine is neat. But using a blender is much more faster, easier, and better. See, mama, once you have a baby, please do well to get a blender. You don't need to break the bank to get this blender. There are affordable ones that are still good and will give you good results. At least from 500 watts will puree your baby food and give you what you want in a blender. So try to get a blender for your baby. It goes a long way to help you in making all of those baby food wonders. Once you're done transferring the date into the blender, the next thing is to go in with the date juice. That is the water that the date was taken out from. You remember we set the water aside. So pour in the water into the blender bit by bit. This is so as not to make the date paste to be runny. What we want to achieve is a thick paste that can be able to go in on all of our food. So try not to get the date paste to be runny. Now proceed to start grinding the date on a high speed. You want to puree the date very well so that it doesn't have any fiber or anything remaining in it. If you have watched up to this moment, it means you are loving this content. Please, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, kindly subscribe to this channel. Subscription is absolutely free. You don't need to pay for it. It is free. And then after subscribing, hit the notification bell. That bell you can see there, so as to get you updated each time we post a new recipe. So after blending, this is what the date paste looks like. So a well pureed and finely blended date should look like this and have this texture. It should be very thick and look exactly like butter with no sign of fiber or any unblended date within it. So this is how your date paste should look like. Yippee! Our yummy date paste is finally ready. Transfer it straight into an airtight container. It could be a cup, a jar, or even a bottle. Close it up tightly and store it in the refrigerator or in the freezer. If you're storing it in the refrigerator, make sure there is constant light so that it doesn't go bad. And also, if you're storing it in the freezer, make sure there is constant light. This date paste can last in the refrigerator for 2 weeks and it can last in the freezer for as long as 3 to 4 months. So I love to store mine in the freezer so that it stays fresh anytime I bring it out. It is recommended that you start feeding your baby's date from 6 months of age, or if you started solid at 4 months, you can also start at 4 months, and it is a fantastic way to introduce them to solid. All you need to do is when you want to feed them, just bring it out from the freezer, towel it, scoop out the quantity you may need to add to their food, and then add to their puree together with the milk, and that will be all. For toddlers and kids, date paste is a great addition to oatmeal, yogurt, smoothies. It is also a very nice sweetener for baked goods. But date paste isn't just for kids. It is also a great ingredient for adults that are looking for a healthy and natural sweetener. You can use it in your coffee or tea or as a topping for your pancakes or waffles. Now, dates are packed with fiber, potassium, and antioxidants, making them a great superfood. And they are also low on glycemic index, which means that they won't cause a spike in your blood sugar levels. So that is it for our date syrup and our date paste. Remember, if you don't want to go through the process of making this for your baby, you can buy your date syrup from Maki Healthy Food. They sell the best date syrup in the market. The contact and distributors number will be on the description box, so you can call and contact any distributor that is closest to you. And there you have it, guys, homemade date syrup and date paste. These two ingredients are staples in our household and I'm so excited to share them with you. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more recipe videos and cooking tips. If you try out this recipe, be sure to tag me on all your posts so that I can see your creations. Now, I've got a question for you. What's your favorite way to use dates in your cooking, in your baby food, and in your baking? Let me know in the comments below, and if you want to see more recipe videos like this one, be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell icon to turn on the notification. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.